Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, and if you follow me you know that we are really well advanced on this incredible build, this Jagdpanther G2 from Armortek, this massive 1:6 scale kit. If you've joined me today, thank you. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe because we've got a long way to go on this and I've got lots more planned in the pipeline. In the last session I ran out of time, as you know. I tried to get all of the gun set up complete, but I ran out of time, so I didn't get around to doing the recoil system. But we did get the mantlet installed, we've assembled the gun, the barrel's operating as it should, and we've got the actuators on for the slew mechanism and elevator, and I got that tested and it was all working perfectly. So really pleased with that. And in today's session it is a bit tricky, but I'm going to go ahead and do the recoil system, and I'm going to try and talk you through every step of that process because it's quite complex and there's a lot of components involved in it. And again, I'm going to try and get some power to it and test that at the end, so that I'm in a position where I've got all these components installed. I no longer need full access to the hull, so I can put the sides on and then move the build forward. I've got some dummy welding to do and some filling and some more detailing to do. So we are really going to sort of move forward. Once this recoil is installed, we will jump back onto the main build. But anyway, in the time-honoured tradition now, I'm going to reposition the camera and we'll get stuck right in. Okay, so the first thing I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to make sure that this part here is wound in as tight as possible to the end of the barrel. Slide this back through. And then we have this extender here. This piece gets connected to this block here. Tempted to put a little bit of do you know what, I might just... No, I don't think I need thread locker on that because it's all going to be bolted into position. But first and foremost, I'll get that in there first. Then we're going to wind this into the main gun barrel. I'm not going to put any thread locker on this. Hopefully you can see that. It doesn't go all the way in because it's not threaded all the way through, but this does. This goes in, and that is going to be orientated around the two holes on the upside of it. And if you remember, the reason, one of the things I didn't put on was the main gun muzzle brake, and that's because I don't want to, I'm only going to glue that on once I've got all this set and in the right position, and then I can glue this into position so it's sitting in the right orientation. So that's that. Now there's a plate that goes on here, there's another plate that goes on the side of this, so I'll go and get those, we'll install those. Might have to change the position of the camera so you can see that. Okay, so I've tried to get the camera around so we could see what's going on in this location here without me blocking it with my big chunky hands. Right, so there's a spacer that if you're not careful can be easily overlooked, and that goes on to this part here. And you'll notice there's only two holes in this, but there's a third hole in this. So that, from what I can see, let's just put a bit of thread locker on that. The orientation of this looks to be that the curved part is up against the mantlet. So let's put the first fixing through that on-threaded hole, and it goes into the holes closer to the mantlet. Again, that's not that clear on the instructions, but illustrated wise, it feels right. And thread locker on that. This is obviously orientated with the slide bar on the top here. Should have said that, sorry. Get these in nice and tight. And then there's a third one, which is a reduced, these are 20mm fixings, this is a 10mm fixing. So that's that plate installed. Next step is there's a plate that now goes and gets attached to the extended barrel part, so I'll have to elevate the camera so you can see that. Right, so I've brought this back to my bench because there's a few parts I'm going to install on this before I put it onto the actual main gun system. This little bearing here needs to go onto the other bracket we've just installed, but I'm left that off deliberately because I think it has relationship to this. So we have this gear runner here, which is this beautifully made steel piece, and there's a little gear, this thing here, that will run along this when the motor drives it, and this has to be bolted to this, and it can only go, there's 3 holes in here, 3 holes in there, as you can see, and there's only one orientation for this. But there's a couple of things that we need to be mindful of. So the first thing, we can put these little, oh by the way, all these fixings here you get with the option pack. So these are not the fixings you get in the main kit, these all come with the option packs themselves. Just going to put some thread locker on that. So the first one goes in the middle of these 3 here. These are little 6mm M3 cap fixings. I like to put thread locker on these parts because there's a lot of movement. Then we get some spacers here. And then we get this little arm, and if you remember the slot on the other bracket that we just put on, this slides along inside that slot, and there's 2 fixings on here. One is a cap fixing which goes on at the back, so that goes through that spacer, hopefully finds its way into there. And then the other one is a button fixing, just keeping it all loose at the moment. And these are 10mm, I think. I'm just double checking. Yeah, they're 10. Oops, smaller driver required. There's a bit. These are slotted, so there's a bit of movement. So it's obviously going to be done for some adjustment, which we can look at. So I'm going to leave that, I know the thread locker's on here, but I'm going to leave that so that I've got that bit of movement in it. That sort of movement backwards and forwards. I think now I can bring this back to the main hull and install this. I'm just going to need a couple of M4 6 cap fixings here to install on top of that sort of aluminium block that we put on the back of the extension rod. Anyway, back to the tank. I'll move the camera and we'll get this installed. Okay, hopefully the position of that camera is favourable. So this little thing here slides it along here, obviously, and this gear here, or this gear track here, is driven by the gear which the motor, which we'll be putting on very shortly, is in here. So I'm just going to pop a couple of these M4 6mm cap fixings in. I'm not using thread locker on this. This aluminium does bite quite well. And I've got a feeling that we've just got to keep all this a little bit loose until we've got the motor installed. So I'm just going to pop that in there like that for now. But you see the and that's where's that binding? It's not the barrel. It's this, but I guess maybe because I've got to tighten it all up, but yeah, I don't know, we'll see. So you have a space here for a limit switch on the front and a limit switch at the back, which we'll be installing shortly. And that's kind of the principle. Tell you what, it takes up a lot of space, doesn't it? Here, that's something I need to be mindful of, and also that's quite sharp. That, I mean, what I'm going to get, when we get some power on this, we'll see how quick it recoils and everything else. But so that's it. I think the next step is going to be, we'll just put this little bearing on, and that just passes through like that, and the nut, I think that definitely needs some thread locker on it. Oops, fiddly as anything. Why is it so? Oh, there it is. Right. Unbelievable. Just wind that in. And really, should be doing the same here. Put a bit of thread locker on that. Tighten that up. I can see the job that does now, helps with the movement. I can hear some metal scrape. I'm trying to work out where that, it's here, it's on the back of this. Yeah. Might have to, we'll see how we get on, but I might have to take that edge off that. You can hear that, that's where it's binding on there. We'll see how we get on. Right, I think the next part is to install the motor. So I'll go and get all that, all the fixings I need, and then there's a counterbalance weight that goes on the bottom of this. There's a little bracket that goes on here, and you bolt the counterbalance weight to it as well. But we'll go and get everything we need, and we're back to camera. Right, I wasn't happy with that, so I've just put it onto my bench grinder, and I've just taken off the sharp edges off this, and I've just sanded it down on this edge here. I'm hoping that's going to be a better solution. Not only that, I was thinking if this recoil is going to operate quite fast, I don't know yet, but if it did, what you don't want these sharp edges on here, especially if you've got leads and cables and everything else around it. So I'm just trying to think ahead. I think I'm happier with that now. Let's just position that there. Ah, that's better. Look at that. No noise. And it's smooth. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. So I would recommend you do that. So just take off these two corners here, and then just sort of sand that down so you get a smoother finish on this edge. Because if it did creep across here, what you don't want is anything affecting the recoil. Right, now I will go and get the motor, and we'll get that installed. Right, I've tried to position the camera so we can see what's going on. You may have noticed I've actually removed this top part now, this runner part, because I need to get access to this plate to get the fixings in. So I've removed that already. Now, to point a note, this little fixing bracket here, this angle here, this is to secure a big counterbalance weight which sits underneath here, which I do want to put on. I mean, I think it's an option, but I'm definitely going to put it on. So you're going to have to think about the fixings. I can't see it on here. It calls for M3 8mm cap fixings in the bottom. Well, that would make sense because you've got the extra thickness of this metal here. But I've also got, which comes with the kit, a couple of 6mm fixings. So I think they should go on the top. So this is the actual motor itself. Beautifully engineered piece of kit again, with your recoil module here, or what I call a Hokey Cokey 2000. Another box of electronic wizardry. I'm going to orientate this so that the cable's on the top, and just making sure that those holes line up, and they do. So let's now get the first of my 6mm fixings on. I'm not going to put any thread locker on this. I don't want to at this stage. This is all slotted, so there's obviously the intention is to make some adjustments, so I just want to keep it quite loose at this stage. I can always take the fixings out and put thread locker in there another time. I guess once we get it running, we'll be able to tell how easily it's moving, but I'm pretty sure we can manually adjust this as well without putting power on it. You know, manually run it backwards and forwards. We'll see. And that's the motor installed, albeit a little bit loose, intentionally. Just trying to center. I'm going to put it for the moment. I'm going to go dead center. Always a good option. We can always adjust it. So that's in. Do you know what I did? Do you know what I forgot to do? The angle. Here we go. Another warts and all video, guys. I'd have cursed myself. Gone any further and forgot about that. So these are the longer 8mm fixings. Put the angle on and we'll go again. I'm not going to put the counterbalance weight on just yet, or well, am I? Yeah, do you know what I will do actually? Because I'm just thinking might be difficult to get to once the gearing's on. So I'll go and get that now, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we have the massive counterweight. It's a huge piece of steel, just really incredibly heavy, and it just talks about one fixing, one 6mm fixing. So I'm going to give that a liberal coat of thread locker. Let's pop that into the middle hole. And hopefully get that. There we go. Tight as anything. Wow. Look at the amount of space this whole thing's taken up inside this hole. So that's the counterweight. Tempted to put the little gear on now before we put this runner back on. Let's do that, and then I've got to look at putting in these limit switches, front and rear. So we'll do that as well. So let me go and get the gear and we'll put that on, and we can put this track back on and then go back and look at some of the wiring. Okay, so there's a little grub screw. Just put a bit of thread locker on that. I'm just going to put a couple of winds on that so it's in without it affecting the ability to slide over. Now we've got a flat spot on top of this shaft here. That's where that needs to be. Just going to wind it in a little bit more, and then we'll put the I just want to make sure that's meshing properly with this. So that sits on there. That's sitting in. Okay, so that's sitting in it now. Just wonder if it should be out a bit more. this is where the adjustments start coming in. So I'm going to move this out so it's out flush with the end of the shaft. Don't know why that always happens. Okay, then that I'm going to pop so that's in that position there. Why is that not sliding in? That needs to be adjusted slightly. Just to sit up. That's looking better. Need to line up those two fixings again. And put those back in. Move the barrel out. One of them in. Hopefully now if I can push that barrel back on, push and pull the barrel I should say. Oh, nearly got by the whole monster. It's my magnetic. Always handy. Sorry guys, this is fiddly. I did have a hex tool was magnetic, but I don't know, I think my little grandson got really attached to that and I don't know where it is. It's in here somewhere. Right, so that's that. Still not 100% happy with the way that's riding there, but let's have a look. Something is awry here. Can't work out what it is. It should run backwards and forwards like that. So I think we just need a bit more adjustment. That needs to not sure what's going on there. It's loose. I deliberately got it loose. So we'll tighten this up now. Something is stopping that. Okay, I'm going to have to spend a bit of time working out why that's getting jammed. Let me do that and I'll come back to camera and hopefully get to the bottom of it.
A few moments later.
Right, mystery solved. and I've zoomed the camera in so you can see, and I can point out to you what I was doing wrong. So now it's running as it should, backwards and forwards along its track line. Two problems I had. One is I had this gear wheel here, or this too far out, and so what was happening was this gear track itself was catching the back of the shaft, and in particular the sort of the where the grub screw is. So that was problem one. Problem two is because this is where I've got this set, this wheel wasn't running properly, so all I've done there is I've just put a couple of copper spacers in there, and now it's running as it should, exactly as it should, so nice and smooth. So now we can go ahead and we can get the start looking at putting the limit switches on the front and the back, and see if I can get some power to this and get it to run. That's pretty smart, that. Right, so time to start thinking about putting these limiter switches in. There's a red one and a black one. The red, it goes on the front, and the black goes on the back of this device here. Obviously, with the thing with the limiter switches, you need to make sure that the switch itself, this bit here, is positioned so that when this is tracking back, this piece here, that engages and closes that switch down. So it can only go in this position here. Just trying to get an angle of the camera that's not going to, I'm not going to impede what you can see. So these tiny little M2 fixings go in from the back of this. Put that first one in like that, and there's a tiny little corresponding nut that goes on there. So that's that. We rotate that around so that the cables are at the top. Just use a I know my hands are in the way. Apologies for that. That's that. Just get that nut on. Oh, that's gone down into the whole monster's got that one all right. I'll have to see if I can fish that out. There we go. Now, that's it, and it's roughly in its position there. Hopefully you can see that. Now what I want to do is make sure that when I push this back, this is set to the right height. So I want it to be in that position there. Tighten them up from behind. Let's just move that out now. There we go. Hopefully you can see that, can you? That's now, that should do the trick. That should close that. So now I'm going to just tighten those up. Get the old forceps on. Don't want those moving. That's it. Just double check that that's still, there we go. We're going to do the same thing now, but on this side, reverse it obviously. So this time round, we want the limit switch to be positioned in this direction. so that when this travels back it pushes that up. Same deal, other than I've got to go and find another nut. It's so small. Oh, I can see it. I can actually see it. Right, I'm going to go the two holes nearer. I think I'm going to have to use the forceps on that. My big old sausage fingers just not good enough for this. Okay, that's on. So I can get that fished out beautifully. Put that other fixing in the back of that. Load up on the old forceps again. These are brilliant tools. A couple of my followers suggested these a while ago, and you know, you guys know who you are, and thank you, a massive thank you for pointing that out to me. It's really, can't even find my tool now. Oh, there it is. Right, so same deal as before. I'm going to bring this back so I can push this down into position, so that's where the switch should be. Tighten that off. Do the same that side. Now, let's just see. That's doing both front and back. Oh, you can see that. So I can zoom in on it. Hopefully you can see that. That's them done. Now, really nervous time. I'm going to see if I can get some power to it. Okay, so what I hadn't fully appreciated is in order to test this correctly, it needs to go through the sound card, and I've already set the sound card up, but I'm not going to do that today. That's a job I always like to do towards the end, but I can demonstrate it's got power going to it. So I've rigged it up. You're going to hear a bit of a noise, and I'm just going to switch the power on now. I'll turn that power off. I can push that back. So I know there's power getting to it, I know the motor's running, and I know the track is running as it should. So that's brilliant. Now, I am really happy with all of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up. I'm going to unplug all the bits I do not need. I'm going to put those away safely. Then I'm going to reposition the camera, and I'm going to get these sides on, and then talk about the next step. Well, at long last, I'm able to start putting the side pannier panels on. And I'm really I'm relieved. I'm relieved that everything went really well with all the option packs, and I hope you now understand my sort of my way of thinking. Getting all this done inside the tank while you've got while the whole hull is exposed is probably the best way forward. So when you originally put the glacier plate on and the rear panel, the rear plate here, Armortek asked us to keep everything quite loose, and the reason is that you want to be able to fit these pannier panels on without any hassle, and in order to do that you just need to have a little bit of play on the front and back plates to be able to get this to fit correctly. So I've carried on, well I've started, I'm going to carry on fixing these. Now this is always a little bit awkward, so got the forceps, just the ability to hold the nut in place to allow you to tighten everything up. That's brilliant. Keep getting caught on those skirting brackets. This is all about feel and just feeling your way around the actual tank. See if I can get that to line up. That's it. That's caught it. There's a great deal of fixings to go around and secure all of this. And then of course, once you've done all of this, you mustn't forget to go around and tighten up all the other fixings that you've kept loose for the time being. Way ahead of going ahead, doing any more work on it. So got one more fixing in this side to go in. And then what I'll do is I'll get onto the other side, and it's that. Yeah. It's pretty good. It lines up pretty well, but there's always one, and this could be the one. I can see. It's just the cleat that's underneath it. I might have to just tap that up a bit. That's got it. Yeah, that's got it. I can see it going through now. Again, just going to load up another nut on the forceps. Just see if I can get that. Lined up. Nope. I'm not going to do all of this in real time with you guys because it is quite tedious. I just thought I'd show you. Oh, that was a tricky one, but no issues now. Right, so I've got another couple of fixings to go in with this cleat here. Just need to line those up. And then we can tighten all these fixings up. Drop this down a bit actually. Go to the bottom one first. And I can feel that the fixings on this side need to be tightened up as well. I'm really pleased how that's all gone in. But as I said, you do need to keep all of this fairly loose. So that is it. Yeah, So that's it. That's that one done. That side done. I'll go around now and I'll do the other side. Don't think I'll do that. I'll put it on, but I won't do all the fixings on, you know, in real time. But actually, no. Ahead of that, I'm going to be putting in this piece here, which is the rear bulkhead piece. This piece goes across here because, again, with the angles, this piece out here. So this, not sure the orientation of it. Let's have a look. Oh, that goes at the back. So this goes in like that, and again, not sure. You could probably get it in. You could probably get it in actually, but I'm going to put it in now. Might as well get this in, and it's in the. Is that going to be in the way? I think it'll be all right. You know, will it be all right? Let's have a look. Let's put this on. Just hold it in there. So yes, I'll be able to get that in all right. So I will just change the position of the camera and I'll come around and I'll do this side. Okay, time to get this pannier panel on. Alright, you can see already one issue. I didn't have it on the other side, but I thought it might be a problem. So where you've got these fixings that have come through to support this skirting, that is clashing with this. I didn't have it on the other side, but it was close. It was close. So I'm going to have to take this off. I'm going to just get my little Dremel out and just remove that so I can get that to sit properly. Well, the Dremel's saved the day again. So now, just see if we can get this to fit a bit better. Just look along the side of that. Looks okay. I think it's got a bit of a bow in it, but that'll be fine because by the time we put a couple of fixings this end, that should pull that in, and we'll put a couple of fixings that end, that should pull that in. So that's it. Right, let's just get a fixing in to see if we can stop this from moving. Just bear with me. See what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. That needs to come down. So that I'll need to, I'm just going to hold that to stop it from falling. That should do it. Just flush at the top there. We'll go again. Just want to get a fixing in so it doesn't start travelling. That'll do. I don't want this falling off. It's got one in anyway. Need another tool. That's that one. And let's just put one in. Let's have a look down this end. Yeah, let's put one in that end. and this is just so that we can stop it from falling off. Then we can do some adjustments with it. That's not going to go anywhere now. So now just want to try and get that will go. Just going to have a look along here. Holes all aligned, all good. Holes all aligned in here, all good. So now what I'm going to do now is I'll go along and I'll get all these fixings in, and I'll come back to camera and talk about the next step. Actually, one little job left to do, completely forgot. Let's get the barrel on, because I want to get the muzzle brake set aligned. Obviously, so when I remove the barrel in the future to transport this amazing kit, I want to make sure that this muzzle brake is aligned correctly, and it should be down the side like that. If you don't do it this way and you just stick it on and then you wind it in, you could end up having it like that, which isn't correct. So I'm just making sure that it's all tight in there. That's not going to move. That's perfect. I mean, look at that. Look, what an amazing looking thing. Right, so let's get some glue on that. Feels like a really long journey, this past few sessions, just to get it to this stage, but a worthwhile one. Just give that a bit of a spin round. I'm just going to come along and have a look on the end. Make sure that's it, perfect. I'll let that set, and that's it. Wow, what a transformation, incredible. Now it's unmistakably the iconic Jagdpanther. Look at the shape of it, it's incredible. And now the gun's on, it's huge, it's huge. I can't get over the size of this. This is by far my favourite build so far. I've absolutely loved every step of this incredible journey. And just to recap, really today's session was just getting that gun set up, got the recoil sort of installed, and we've tested it. I mean, it's not fully tested, but I know there's power getting to it, and it's tracking perfectly well. And then we managed to get the pannier panels on, and I don't know how difficult it would have been if I'd have tried to do all of that with the pannier panels on. I'm glad I waited. And I'll just say again, and I've said it many times during the course of this part of the build, if you are building one of these or considering getting one of these kits, please make sure you do get the option packs in at this stage of the build, so that you just saves yourself a huge amount of work at the end. And if you can, test them as well as you go through. So what's left to do on this phase of the build? Well, there's a few more parts to go on. There's this rear deck support, which we'll put on in the next session. And there's a few other brackets that go on here. And once those brackets are on, that allows me to put these track holders on. Do you remember the ones that we couldn't put on? Because there's a couple of, there's fixings here that support the side supports for the rear deck. Then we can put those on. And once I've got all that on, we can then put the equipment bins on, which have been long awaited. Which way they go around? Yeah, that way. Because you can't put these on until you've tightened everything up and everything's secure on the back of this panel here. So now that's all done, these can go on. And then some other really important jobs to do at this stage of the build. I'm going to silicone all the areas that I can see daylight breaking through all the joints, just internally. And then once I've done that, I'm going to do some mock welding on the front, on the main glasses plate at the front. But there's more mock welding to be done, but that'll be on the rear deck and the roof inevitably. So I'll do that, and then once we've done that, we can then start moving on to building up the detail on the rear deck. And I've had a look at that, and that looks incredible. A lot of work to do on that, but that still looks incredible. Looking forward to all of that. But I keep looking at it, and I'm absolutely blown away by this. A massive credit to Armortek for kicking it out of the park. This is my favourite build so far, and that's no exaggeration. I've loved every single second of it, and I still can't get over the size of it. Anyway, That gun, I'll probably remove that gun once the glue goes off. I'll probably take that gun off and set it to one side for the rest of the build, and probably paint it separately. But anyway, thanks for joining me today. Sorry it's been longer than a normal, probably longer than a normal video session, but I think there was quite a lot to cover in that. I hope you have enjoyed that. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, welcome, and thanks for finding me. Please subscribe, because we've still got a huge amount of work to do on this incredible kit. And I'll sign off once and for all by saying thanks again for all your amazing support, all those comments, all those thumbs ups. Please keep them coming. I'm Tony. I absolutely love building these kits, and I look forward to seeing you in my next session. See you soon.